Good morning, agents, and welcome to another daily episode of Targeted Loot. Today, your daily farming guide for Friday, January 1st, and Happy New Year's, guys. In this series, we covered a lot. We got the Targeted Loot map, Dark Zone exclusives to farm for, highlights from the weekly vendor resets, and build and farming suggestions as well. I'm Shadow Gaming, and if you enjoy this video, consider pressing the thumbs up button and of course the subscribe button as well. And remember to comment below if you have any questions whatsoever. Otherwise, let's get this video started. Alright guys, so starting off with the Dark Zones and of course vendor reset highlights, which are always in the bottom left overlay popping up right now. And I recommend two things from the DZ West and South vendors. So in the DZ West, we got the Rock and Roll Shotgun. Now that, with Perfectly Extra, is worth picking up for 152 DZ resources. And then over in DZ South, we got the Gift, of course, with 11.7% weapon damage, 9.8% crit hit damage, and then reroll that skill damage for crit hit chance or weapon handling. Those are my two recommendations. Now moving on to the actual targeted loot. Richter and Kaiser and Hardwire do not have Dark Zone exclusives, so I'm going to go ahead and skip those, and I don't think they're worth farming for in the Dark Zones. Now, of course, the holsters in DZ East, that is worth farming for. Just like yesterday, you could farm for the Claws Out holster with 500% melee damage and 10% pistol damage baked right into it. That's a Wyvern Wear Dark Zone exclusive holster you can farm for. Otherwise, let's go check out now what we got on the north side. Alright, agents, north side targeted loot highlights. Starting off with the invaded missions, it's actually Federal Emergency Bunker, DCD HQ, Potomac Event Center, and then of course Roosevelt Island and Tidal Basin Stronghold. Back to the north side, we got Aces and Eights at Camp White Oak. I always recommend my great headshot damage build with Aces and Eights, 3 pieces, and then you got 2 pieces of Geraldo Holding, 1 being Vigilance or Composure on the backpack, and the Chain Killer chest piece, the Perfect Headhunter. I always run that with the Mantis. You can run it with the Nemesis, the White Death, or Ekim's Long Stick as well. Next up, we got Seska at Coney Island Ballpark. That's just for an extra 10% crit hit chance on your build. And then Geraldo Holdings, I always recommend farming for a headshot damage build. And you want to farm it with weapon damage, weapon handling, and headshot damage, because crit hit chance and crit hit damage don't matter on a headshot damage build. And speaking of headshot damage builds, we got Douglas and Harding at Manning National Zoo today. So you could farm for that Punch Drunk Mask with 20% headshot damage baked right into it. And that's perfect for an all high-end headshot damage build. Kinley College is open for another 3 days. Summit, you pick your own targeted loot. So now let's go check out what we got on the west side. Alright, agents, west side targeted loot highlights. Starting off with the gear sets, we got Future Initiative at DARPA Research Labs. Always remember this, that the Iron Horse raid is where you get the chest and backpack. They're raid exclusive, same with Foundry Bulwark. Now, of course, in lieu of that, I would use an Alps Summit backpack and chest piece with Empathetic Resolve on the chest piece and Safeguard on the backpack. Next up, we got Strikers at the Pentagon. I only recommend 3 pieces for the rate of fire and weapon handling, never for the 4th piece, and that's just for like a merciless build, really. The other 3 gear sets we got is Hunter's Fury at Roosevelt Island. I'll put my absolute best Hunter's Fury build in the top right card now. That's 4 pieces of Hunter's Fury, Death Grip gloves, and the Memento backpack. Or as an alternative, you could use a Sokolov chest piece with Intimidate or Obliterate. And I always roll 3 armor cores for weapon damage cores and a skill tier for the Memento backpack. And of course, I'm going to run that with the Dark Winter and the Scorpio. Those are my 2 favorite weapons for these builds. The other 2 is Foundry Bulwark and Constitutional Hall. Remember, chest and backpack are raid exclusive to the Iron Horse raid. Otherwise, great tank set. Definitely worth putting 4 pieces together even without the chest and backpack. And you can mix it with the Bellstone Armory and Emperor's Guard knee pads with 1% armor regen. Just make sure to throw armor regen all over this build. And last but not least, we got Eclipse Protocol at Downtown West. So my favorite fire damage build will be in the top right card now. Now that's going to be 4 pieces of Eclipse Protocol, the Imperial Dynasty holster, and 1 piece of Golan gear for an extra 10% status effects. And that build rocks solo, in group, heroic, and legendary content, everything. Moving on to normal targeted loot, we got Badger Tough at Bank HQ. You can farm for the 0F's chest piece with Perfect Unbreakable. Definitely worth farming for any DPS hybrid where you just want that extra survivability on your chest. And then of course we got shotguns over at DCD HQ today. Fast mission to run real quick. 2 exotics you can grab up. Sweet Dreams with the Sandman talent. And of course Scorpio with Septic Shock. You definitely want Scorpio, but you can unlock it through season level 55, so I would highly recommend doing that. And then of course you can get the 4 best shotguns in the game, the Rock and Roll with Perfectly Extras and the DZ West vendor, I believe it is. And then of course the Mop with 10% armor on kill, the Custom MA70 and the Marine Super 90, and I always roll close and personal on those. Moving next to rifles at Lincoln Memorial, definitely a great place, my favorite place to farm. I think it has 4 bosses in total, not 3, and I can clear it in 8 minutes with that Hunter's Fury build. 2 exotics, Merciless and Diamondback, neither of which I really recommend, and the Merciless is, really easily gotten if it's targeted loot at Jefferson Trade Center because it's a Hyenas, faction exotic. But anyway, besides those, the named rifles you can get would be the Surge with Perfect Spike and the Baker's Dozen with Perfect Lucky Shot. The Harmony with Perfect In Sync does not drop outside of the Dark Zone from an NPC, so, be aware of that. You gotta farm for it in the Dark Zones usually. And then of course chest pieces at West Potomac Park, 2 exotics, Tardigrade and Ridgeway's Pride. But the Ridgeway's Pride, you're going to need to ask, a teammate if they could share it with you, if they already have it and can get it as a drop. Or of course complete the project you get from Summit. Honey, you over here at West Potomac Park next up. So you can farm for the Force Multiplier backpack with Perfect Combined Arms. You want that thing rolled with Skill Haste and Skill Damage or Skill Duration mod on it. That's what I do. And the only other 2 I'm going to recommend is backpacks over here at Federal Emergency Bunker. If you want to farm the 2 exotic backpacks in the game, the Memento, the best exotic in my opinion, and then the Acosta's Go bag as well, which I never use, but it's good for skill builds. And then Go Long Gear over here at Potomac Event Center if you're looking for the Anarchist Cookbook with Perfect Wicked. Otherwise, let's go check out now what we got on the east side. Alright agents, east side targeted loot highlights. Starting off with gear sets, we got Rigger at Jefferson Plaza. Great for instant cooldowns and deployable skills. Sorry I don't have a build yet to recommend, but I do recommend actually getting this gear set. And the chest and backpack are not raid exclusive, so you can get these, all 6 pieces. Moving on to normal targeted loot, we got our light machine guns at Southwest. So of course 2 exotics, Bullet King and Pestilence. Bullet King you never have to reload, and the Pestilence you can get that damage tick over 1,000,000 per tick. I definitely recommend grabbing the Pestilence for sure, and the Bullet King as well. Otherwise, there's 4 named LMGs in this game that I can think of that are dropping the light zone, and they're in the bottom left overlay. Next up, Providence Defense at Air and Space Museum. You can farm the Sacrifice with Perfect Glass Cannon. Now that amplifies all damage by 30%, but all incoming damage by 60% to you. But it's amazing for DPS builds and skill damage builds, but I just personally prefer Obliterate or Intimidate over that, for DPS builds of course. And then Bellstone Armory over here at Capitol Building Stronghold. You can get that everyday carrier, perfectly efficient. I never use that, so I never really recommend it. But the Liquid Engineer with Perfect Bloodsucker backpack is a Dark Zone exclusive, so that's normally why I mentioned this one. And then Assault Rifles at American History Museum. You got 2 exotic assault rifles outside of the Eagle Bear. That's the Chameleon with Adaptive Instincts and the Capacitor with Capacitance. And both of those are highly worth going for. Of course, you first have to get the Capacitor from the Summit, completing 5 challenges, so keep that in mind as well. Otherwise, the 4 best assault rifles that drop in the light zone that are named are in the bottom left overlay. I definitely like the Mechanical Animal and Test Subject. And then submachine guns at Jefferson Trade Center. Great day to get the Lady Death, Chatterbox, and of course Backfire. Those are the 3 exotic SMGs in this game. But remember, keep in mind that the Dark Winter and the Apartment are Dark Zone exclusives. You cannot farm for them outside of the Dark Zone that actually drop from NPCs. But there are several ways to get them, and I will include them in the bottom left overlay right now. Definitely, manhunt targets and, caches, like named item caches and stuff like that. Murakami is great for that extra skill duration. I'm finding the turret and drone build useless really with skill haste, so I'm adding more duration to it. That's something that I'm going to need to update on my newer videos. And then knee pads next at Downtown East. This is where you could farm for the 2 exotic knee pads in this game, Ninja Bike Messenger and Sawyer's knee pads. Both of those are definitely worth farming for, but they're wildly different. Run and gun for Ninja Bike and sitting still for Sawyer's. And then of course the best knee pads in this game, Fox's pair knee pads with 8% damage to targets out of cover. I always farm for those, or I would always recommend farming for those on knee pad targeted loot if Overlord isn't available to farm. And then of course Petrov over here at Grand Washington Hotel. This is where you could farm for that Contractor's Gloves with 8% damage to armor. Definitely recommend for any LMG build. And then of course stacking damage to armor. And really that's all I'm going to recommend for the east side. So let's go check out now what we got in New York City targeted loot highlights. Alright agents, finally, last but not least, we got New York City target loot highlights. Starting off with the gear sets, we got Ongoing Directive of Financial District, 2 great bleed damage builds you could use with this. 1 Ridgeway's Pride, 4 pieces of Ongoing Directive, and no longer the Eclipse Protocol backpack, but of course the Anarchist Cookbook with Perfect Wicked, or a backpack with Wicked on it, or maybe even Creeping Death. The other one I'd recommend is the Badger Tough backpack with Creeping Death, 4 pieces of Ongoing Directive, and the Vile Mask. Both of those builds I highly recommend with the Scorpio. Next up, we got Negotiator's Dilemma at Civic Center. So of course my double LMG build will be in the top right card now, as well as my True Patriot pretty soon too. But of course 4 pieces of Negotiator's Dilemma, Coyote's Mask, and Grupo Sombro gloves. And I like to run that with the Bullet King or Pestilence, and that just shreds. You know, it's a DPS and crowd control build at the same time. And then True Patriot over here at the Tombs, amazing, great to farm for because you always want that armor roll with crit chance or crit damage as a second slot. And I'll put my True Patriot build in the top right card as well. 4 pieces of True Patriot, Memento backpack, and Sokolov chest piece with Intimidate, running the Lady Death and the Mop is insane. And then next up we got Empress at 2 Bridges. Now remember, the third piece gives you 10% skill efficiency, and this is how skill efficiency works. Every 1% skill efficiency you get skill haste, skill damage, skill repair, skill duration, status effects, skill health. So you definitely want 10% of all of those for sure. And then of course I'll mention my skill damage build, 3-piece Empress, 2-piece Hana U, waveform holster with capacitor, and I'm gonna probably recommend my Memento one even more so. I'm really starting to enjoy that Memento build even more than the one I just mentioned. Next up we got gloves over here at Pathway Park if you want to farm for the BTSU gloves. Those just grant overcharge to you and any teammate with skill tier 6. And then mass targeted loot we got last at Wall Street, so you could farm for 2 exotic masks, Coyotes and Vile Mask, Coyotes for DPS and Vile for status effects and skill damage. And really that's about it that I would recommend for New York City. Alright agents, well that was the target loot for today. Thank you guys so much for watching, especially anyone watching right now till the very end. Please hit that subscribe, like, and share button if you enjoyed my content. And of course I hope you guys had a wonderful happy new year, and I hope 2021 is really good to everyone. Otherwise guys, you know where all the links are in the video description and pinned comment below for Shadow Gaming merchandise, you know, joining my channel as a channel membership, all that good stuff. Take care agents, and be sure to stay tuned for more daily Division 2 content. This is Agent Shadow signing off. I will see you in the next video. Take care agents, and I hope 2021 is amazing to you guys.